Bucknutters. It is Halloween in Ohio. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5. I'm Dan Rubin, joined by Dwayne Long, as always, on Tuesdays. It's going to be cold, clean, and brisk tonight, so we will avoid the weather. We got a potpourri of stuff to talk about today. I think the way we'll do it, though, Dwayne, when a game like that goes down, we got to look back quickly. Now that you've had a few days to soak it all in, what are your vibes coming out of what was, I'm not saying it was the most important game of the last decade, but it was certainly a thrilling home game that will be one everyone who was there will remember.
Oh, there are several things that pop into my mind. First, the one thing I've been going back on is just looking over the years. I even was pulling up schedules, and you start looking at who at the factor, was this the greatest comeback in Ohio State history? Well, maybe before my time, maybe Big Jimmy can speak to this, but I go back and I remember being down 31-0 in Minnesota and winning that football game. And, we've had some comebacks before, but never against an opponent ranked this high. That's the one thing that stands out. Makes this one just really, it tops my list. We just saw, it was the number 2 team in the country. And that's to come back on them like that. That was incredible. It was incredible to watch. It was euphoric. So that's really the thing that stands out the most to me about the game. And that we rode JT Barrett's arm, and I think so many fans have given up on that ever being a factor. And that was one of the great performances by an Ohio State quarterback ever. Let's just say it. His fourth quarter performance was unbelievable. And he was just unstoppable. So, that bodes well for the future.
I'll say this, that last drive was a surgical, and, I'm so used to watching my Cowboys. I almost thought they scored too quickly. Thankfully, it's Shane McSorley and their offensive line rather than Aaron Rodgers on the other side, but I digress. It was amazing. It was awesome.
I said that in the game thread. Maybe we scored too quickly.
It was unbelievable if you watch it. I mean, the one thing about Barrett that I'm starting to realize personally, and it's only taken me, almost 5 years here, so I'm pretty quick, but when he's decisive, I know it's kind of stating the obvious, he's fantastic. When he, I don't know if it's his first or not even really what read, but when he's decisive, when he believes in the throw, then I don't even really question his arm strength. It's when his eyes, he doesn't trust stuff. There was even a couple plays early in this game where he missed ball down the seam. He just didn't trust it and let the pressure get to him. So on the whole, it was just an awesome performance. I will say this. I do have a number of people that I talked to in the DMV who are either Penn State grads or or Penn State fans. Not one of them after the game said anything different than we were lucky to be in the position we were in. Not one of them said they thought that Penn State has a better team. Not one said they thought Penn State had more talent. For you to make up that much space that quickly on a team ranked number 2 in the country, like you said, very, very impressive. The question is, what does everyone else think? We know that the voters, the coaches, and the AP poll has Ohio State at number 3. But the real important rankings come out tonight, the playoff rankings. Now, they really don't mean all that much, I guess, now, given the fact that so much has to take place. And I think there's pretty much a general consensus that the number 1 and 2 teams will both be out of the SEC, Alabama or Georgia in some order. And then it gets interesting. It does seem now that everybody is on the Notre Dame at number 3 bandwagon. I'm not sure I get that. I think Notre Dame was actually the best thing they did was lose to Georgia by 1 point, because if you look, that's what they're being judged on here. They do have some quality dubs, but the loss to Georgia is what everyone talks about. Then you have Ohio State, and the really interesting one's going to be Oklahoma. How do you feel about this? It's kind of, we talked about how the schedule lined up for Ohio State, like last season it lined up for Penn State, and it's almost like the inverse of the Oklahoma game from last year as well. If Ohio State wins out, and Oklahoma wins out, what do you think will happen?
Well, I don't think it's really down to that, Dan. I think that everyone's overlooking the fact that, when we're looking at the rankings now, as you said earlier, it's too early because Alabama and Georgia are going to run into each other in the SEC championship game, most likely, unless one of them loses beforehand, and one of them is out. This is a thing that I absolutely believe. There is no way that the committee votes two teams in from the same conference while there's still just four people and the four teams in the playoffs. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's going to happen. So I think it's a moot point. I would rather make it easier and TCU beat Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State, they still play Oklahoma. So,
this weekend.
See there. Yeah, that's getting ready to add that, we're going to find that out very, very quickly. So maybe we eliminate that headache. But Alabama and Georgia are going to play each other. The loser is out. It's just that simple. So that's really going to play its way out. Notre Dame has some, especially coming up here. They beat USC, who was obviously a paper tiger, but they were still ranked number 11 when Notre Dame beat them. So, you've got to throw that into the plus. They just beat North Carolina State, who was number 14, and playing some really good football. They still get Miami at Miami, and they end the season with Stanford, who's in the top 20. So Notre Dame's strength of schedule is really going to carry them in the end. If they win out, Notre Dame's in, and they deserve to be in. Their one loss is to Georgia by 1 point. So I don't know if there's any argument to keep Notre Dame out with that kind of lineup come out. But it really does. Clemson, you may want to throw them in there as a 16. That could be a problem. They've got a bunch of teams going out that are, Florida State was supposed to be a big late season game. It's not looking so right now. I mean, Florida State's got 5 losses now. So I don't know if that's big. They even play the Citadel, so they're going out with a whimper, and that could definitely hurt them. They had some nice early wins, but you still got to throw them in there. That's about it. But like I said, Alabama, Georgia is going to work itself out, and I'd like to make it easy. I'd like to make it easy. TCU beats Oklahoma, or Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma. And then we kind of coast in, maybe even getting up to number 3.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if Oklahoma State could handle Oklahoma and Bedlam this weekend. I just find it very hard to believe if Ohio State wins out. So it's got double-digit wins in a row. The championship game, that's going to be interesting to see where Wisconsin is rated in the ratings. But you just can't convince me that Ohio State will win 10-plus games in a row with a win over number 2, and then beat a top 5 team in a conference championship game in a neutral site. There's just no way you can't send that team. I'm sorry. I know it sounds goofy to Oklahoma fans. And I guess if they went out super impressively, you could make the argument. But I just don't see any way they keep Ohio State out. I don't want to get into the argument of, Ohio State puts butts in the seats by the way they do. Check the ratings for the game over the weekend. I don't think it'll even come down to that. But it's going to certainly be interesting to watch. There'll be way too much credence put into tonight's rankings, but it's still fun to talk about. We're going to get to talk about Iowa, which is the next game on the schedule. By the way, the game I circled at the beginning of the season is the most troubling. We'll get to that. We're going to talk a little recruiting here because we have Dwayne on the line. We're going to talk offensive line. Steve Wiltfong has flipped a crystal ball for Rasheed Walker out of Waldorf, Maryland, to the Buckeyes. He is an offensive tackle prospect. What's your vibe on Rasheed Walker as a player?
Oh, I love him. He's a kid that can play left tackle, and that's what we got to replace. We got to remember, Jamarco Jones he's gone. We don't have a guy that is an obvious fit, not committed yet. Don't like what I'm hearing from, if you go on Bucknuts, you will see people that have gone down and seen Jackson Carman and he's not really been that impressive this year. He's just not. He's overweight. He's not playing like a motivated guy. You know, I think he's big time. I think he's already his head in college football, and this is just, you know, he's just not really that motivated at the high school level right now. You have to take him, just too much raw talent. I looked at, you know, if you look at his junior film when he was really still trying to make a name and trying to impress, he was massively impressive. So talent is there. It's just getting his kid focused again. But we still need to make sure we've got a kid that can play left tackle who's coming in, you know, off a good senior year and ready to play. Rasheed Walker definitely fits the bill. I may like Petit Frere a little bit better, but Rasheed Walker would be a great get for us, Dan. He really would. He's got everything you're looking for in a left tackle prospect. So that is a big crystal ball with Steve coming in on it. And hopefully we see Kurlick and Alex come in on it too. I'd love to see that happen.
No
that
question.
Would be huge for us. We've already got the right tackle and Max Ray, and you know, bring in that left tackle so we can reload. Got to get more tackles in here. Too many guys have just not made it. We brought in tackles, they just have not had a tackle. They've been sliding down the guard and sometimes out of the program completely. You recruit tackles. I'm a firm believer in that. Always have been. Move them down the guard if they don't cut it, or you know, you got guys you got your two deep set, and you just improve your overall athleticism at guard by moving those more athletic guys tackle down inside. So I don't see any reason to change that strategy. Bring in tackles, and you know, let's do it.
Yeah, the offensive line is going to be super interesting next year. There's kind of a log jam in my mind at guard with Michael Jordan and Brandon Bowen if he comes back, and then you've got Josh Myers, and Thayer Munford, Wyatt Davis. So you're loaded at guard. That's going to be real interesting. I mean, someone's going to have to kick out, or they're going to have to develop something to tackle, but who knows? Isaiah Prince, according to Pro Football Focus, which as a college division had him as the highest rated offensive player in the game. Shocker, the most highest rated defensive player was Nick Bosa, but I digress. Let's talk about one more recruit that we're seeing the name pop up, and just a quick thing on him. I don't remember seeing this much coverage of a player this young, maybe because he's so good and has interest in Ohio State. His name was Bryan Breese out of the DMV Maryland side, defensive tackle. Seems like a man among boys. From what you've seen on tape so far and what you've heard, does he look like the player matches the hype?
Dan, this kid, I mean, I'm looking at him, and I just kept repeating in my mind as I'm watching this film, he's a freshman? He's a freshman? I could not believe it. How big and athletic this kid is. He runs. He is an end right now in high school. He's going to grow into a tackle. He's just that big. There's no doubt he's going to grow into it. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to back up off of that. He may be one of those kids that goes 300 pounds and still plays end. He's just so athletic, runs so well. Yeah, he deserves everything he's getting right now, and we're in a really good situation with him.
Yeah, that's great news. We usually don't bring up guys that young. Brings a tear to my eye. My son is the class of my eldest is 2020, and the idea that he's that close to college makes you want to pull over and weep. But very, very impressive. And I'll say this is kind of a tad hyperbolic. Next year, Ohio State will start at defensive end the best tandem possibly of all time. How about that? You have Chase Young and Nick Bosa starting at defensive end next year. I know I'm getting a little tad hyperbolic here. That could end up being, may not be next year because of the way their ages are not necessarily on point. But in the long run, 25 years from now, we may look back at that as the two most talented guys ever to play defensive end on the same field at the same time. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, people. Let's get to the game. Iowa, they're doing a blackout. I'm not really sure why. I will say this, before the season, I circled the Iowa game as being the most difficult. I don't think I'm going to end up being right on that. That said, it is not an easy place to play. You saw how Penn State struggled when they were there. We're talking about, some people think this could be a trap game coming off the Penn State W. What is your vibe on Iowa? How formidable opponent do you see the Fighting Forenses?
Well, we never see them as a formidable opponent, and then we have trouble with them too often. I remember Tressel had problems with them. They just do what they do. Going out there makes it that much worse. I really think the coaches need to make sure this team is focused and not looking down the line at Michigan and Wisconsin in the championship game. Just get these guys focused on this game. Get through this one. It gets easier. I think Michigan State is the most – they have – how they've gotten the record they've gotten. If you watch them, they're like, what? Huh? How are you where you are? How'd you get this many wins? Did you buy them? Where'd they come from? They're just not that good a football team. Not really worried about Michigan State, and Michigan is always there. Every year, it's the game that everybody looks on the schedule. Yeah, every player. Just don't get ahead of ourselves. Let's take care of Iowa. Let's make sure we go in there, play a good football game, and come out with a win. That's all we're trying to do right now. Winning out is the only thing that should be on anybody's mind. But you got to do that one game at a time. So I'm just concerned that they come in off an emotional high and, they're like, Iowa? Really? Do we have to play? Yeah, you do. You have to play. So that's my concern about Iowa. That Iowa's going to be motivated. We seem to get their best game every time we play them. So, I want them, yeah.
Ohio State is the marquee game for them on their schedule, obviously. This is one of those times everyone should be real happy. We have real happy that we have JT Barrett, a senior. This is like his 8th year in the program. He should be able to calm everyone down and get them focused on the task at hand, at least offensively. Defensively, I have a little bit more of a concern than I do with the offense. My problem with the defense is that sometimes they just don't show up, certain players on the defense. Number 17 is my concern. When he comes to play, we usually win. When he doesn't, we usually struggle. That said, I got to believe the defensive line will be able to wreak havoc on Iowa, even though Iowa always does have a good offensive line. That was your potpourri on Halloween BM5. Everyone be safe tonight. Check that candy before you give it to your kids. Have a good one, Bucknutters.